Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning or good afternoon. I have to say that it's a pleasure to be here, first of all, and even if the place is not full of people, I think the quality is much more better, and that is actually the most important thing in the cybersecurity. I can have, for example, 100 average people working for me to find out the solutions for the problems that we are having. But I would choose, if I would have to, one excellent, talented individual, because he is even more skillful and even more valuable for me. In a military sense, I would say that it's not about how big muscles you have when we are talking about the cyber. It's about what you have here. And I was actually planning to speak my presentation in Finnish, because I have understood that Finland and Hungary are relative countries. Joten teillä ei varmaan ole mitään epäselvyyttä siitä, mitä tulen seuraavaksi puhumaan. But I will spare you and speak English. I have to tell you also that I just flew back from Oslo. I was there for a few days, and it was very high profile security policy event what was happening over there. People gathering all over the world. And we were thinking about and discussing about the current international politics issues, what is happening in the world. Like Middle East, like situation in Ukraine at the moment, geoeconomics and that kind of things. But we were also talking about cyber. We weren't in that summit talking about cyber 2 years ago. But today, when we are talking about very high profile, very strategic issues in the world, cyber issues are on the table. And I have to say that when we are talking about the cyber, by my experience, traveling all over the world because of my job, I have to say that at the moment, to my eyes, it seems, especially from the strategic point of view, that there is no actually such important and such poorly understood issue in the security than cybersecurity at the moment. And that is one very important point of me. We should not separate that there is a cybersecurity and then there is a security. Because the very big trend is that the cyber, the world of the bits, the digital domain, is affecting more and more all the activities what we are having here in the physical world. And at the moment, I would say that this is a great strategic intellectual challenge what we are facing. But since we are talking about, as the name of the presentation is, reality check, and being in country which is related to my country, Finland, I will give you one personal reality check first. It happened around 8 years ago. I was working in this United Nations observation post, what you can see over there, in Lebanon, just next to Israel. I was working there with my very good friend from Finland for 6 months. Then we had to decide, either I or him will be removed to the Israeli side to work there the other 6 months. And we choose that I will go and he will stay. Few weeks after that decision, when I was in the Israeli side, came my birthday, 25th of July. But I have to say that it wasn't so happy. It was the day, 25th July 2006, when this UN observation post was bombed. And all my 5 colleagues who were serving over there including one of my best friends in Finland, died over there. And you can imagine how many times I have been thinking in my life the question, what if would have been me? That was the reality check in my personal life. So what I learned? 2 things. First of all, remember to enjoy every day of our lives. Every day. The second point, things can change, and they can change very fast and in a very unpredictable way. And usually things are changing in a way that we can't predict them in advance. It was just few weeks before of that my birthday, more or less we were counting the sheep in that area, and it was very peaceful. And then, just like that, the war broke between Hezbollah and Israel. And this was one result of it. And when I look at the security, and when I look at the world, I have to say that things change, and they usually change in a very unpredictable way. For example, if I would have been here 1 year ago telling you that, okay, during next year the situation in Ukraine will change in this and this way, what has happened? I believe that no one would have believed me. But things changed. If I would have told you in the beginning of September 2001 that there will be 9/11 with all those aeroplanes, probably no one would have believed that. And when you look at the history back 100 years, for example, you can see that in the certain periods, the world and security has changed in a very dramatic way, and in the way we have not been able to predict. Comes to the conclusion, why the world and the security will not change in a way in the future also. And especially here in the Europe, I think we have accustomed to think that when things don't change, that's the security. And in many European countries, we usually choose the president who promises the stability. Things don't change, but things do change. Both in the physical world, and I have to say, being in very deep on these cybersecurity issues, in the academics and also in the business life, with the clients and with the governments. I have to say that this dynamic cyber domain is something that you can really see that is changing very fast and also in unpredictable way. So what is needed is actually the ability to change and also the resilience. And it was in a way very eye-opening once again when we were in Oslo in that summit last weekend. And we were talking about the security, not only cybersecurity. There were 2 strategic things emphasized more or less in every case. And those are very important issues to emphasize also when we are talking about the cybersecurity. First of all, situational awareness. How do we really know in an as proper as possible way what is happening over there? What is the situation, for example, in Ukraine at the moment in the physical world? Or what is happening in all the networks, whatever they are, at the moment in the cyber domain? And what we can believe, because, for example, as we all know, there is ongoing information war. We are trying to affect you, what you should think on different issues. And the second point is that if you want to be a strong player, if you want to be a credible player in today's world, you can't never build security by yourself. You need cooperation. You need cooperation inside your country, inside your business, and also cooperation internationally. I had my reality check 2006. The reality check in cybersecurity in September 2014. I argue that the biggest challenge at the moment in the cybersecurity is not the technological ones. It's usually the soldiers, I'm ex-officer, who categorizes different actions in 3 different levels. The lowest level is the tactical or technological level. Then the middle one is the operational level. And then the highest one is the big picture strategic level. Usually when we talk about the cybersecurity in businesses, in governments, and when we are trying to find the solutions, those discussions too often starts from the technological level. Missing the strategic understanding on this issue, missing the big picture, and when there is no clear understanding on these issues, both the threats and the opportunities what the digitalizing world is giving us, how there can ever be like top-down guidance or commitment to these issues. And I have to say that I don't want to be pessimistic but realistic. But at the moment, to my eyes, the development in the world is that the gap between the strategic level and the technological level is increasing. And the development in the technological things, that's huge. I have to say that in many cases what I see in my job, how the technology is going forward, I can't even believe it. But at the same time, the understanding where the world is going on with all these digitalizing actions, activities, in warfare, in espionage, in business, in our daily lives, that's missing. And I have to say that there are good efforts, of course, but we are not putting enough efforts to find the right strategic answers and then put the guidance to the operational and tactical level. 2 examples on the strategic level. Less than 3 weeks ago, there was a NATO summit in Wales, one of the most important NATO summits in NATO's history. There were decided that nowadays cyber attacks are included the Article 5 collective defense, meaning that if one NATO country is being attacked by a cyber domain in a severe way, it will launch the Article 5 collective defense. Before that, Article 5 has only been concerned on the kinetic use of force. And in some, to describing how strategic this is also, and how the security can also be a real competitive advantage, I think this is very good example of it when the many US companies, big companies like Pepsi-Cola or JB Morgan, they have started to recruit the cybersecurity experts to be their board members. Board members where they sit people from the marketing, from the sales and so on. Because they understand that if they lose the security in all those activities what they are having in the digitalizing world, their sales, marketing, administration, they are in a big trouble. Then I want to, in the end, share you for the future 4 factors which I see are the most important strategic factors. Not going to technological details now. What we have to face, want it or not. First of all, when we are thinking about the security, not only cybersecurity but security, what is the most valuable asset we have? That's trust. If there is no trust, there is no security. And if there is no security, there can't be no trust. And trust is, of course, something, if you once lose, it's very hard to regain. And in many cases, when we are talking about the digitalizing world, and we are making these excellent technological innovations, we start forgetting the most fundamental thing in the security and in the human actions, which is trust. And I have to say that looking for the longer time trend, I have to say that in a way we have started to lose the trust towards the digitalizing world, meaning that this green trust zone is decreasing and the red distrust is increasing. And I have to say that now it's the time more or less to turn the curve. And there are two options. There will be a big crisis where we will more or less have to start everything again. Or the other option is the leadership. But if we lose the trust in a more way that we have done it so far, I think in many ways we are in a trouble. Just a few examples. For example, the latest EU statistics tells that only 12% of the members of the people of the European Union feels that it's safe and secured to use internet online. And when we don't have trust, these kind of news start to increase also. Like Chancellor Angela Merkel has been telling that we should have maybe European internet. And I really hope, when I'm thinking about my sons also, that the answer to this last question is no. That the generations in the future will be even more freely to use all the opportunities what the internet and all the other activities and possibilities what this digital world is giving them. Trust. And I have to say that JFK, in the beginning of the 60s, John F. Kennedy was very right. And one of my colleagues once actually asked me that, Jarno, do you know what is the difference between the land, sea, air and space dimensions compared to the cyber domain? The answer is that land, sea, air and space are made by God. Cyber domain is made by human. This is artificial, human-made domain, what we are talking about. And if this domain is human-made, the problems are human-made, I think it's the humans who can fix them. The second point, when we are talking about the future of the cybersecurity and the security, I think we have to get rid of the dichotomies, what we usually have as humans inside our heads. Like, for example, in the warfare, we like to think that, okay, there are full peacetime or full war. Or we are thinking that there is a beginning and end in every conflict, our side, their side, we will win or lose. And these kind of black-white thinking and thoughts are actually pretty old and not useful in the security thinking in today's world. For example, one theme what is being discussed in the cyber at the moment very much in the world is the active defense. Is active defense defense or offense, or between them or something else? Or I would say that even make a clear distinction between the hardware and the software is even harder in today's world. And of course, we like to think that security, when we talk about cybersecurity especially, is something different from the physical security. There's security and cybersecurity. I argue that the most important mega trend at the moment in the world is that we have these two different worlds. We have the world of the atoms in a way, the physical world, the real tables here. But then we have this digital reality, the world of bits, which means cyber to me. And the thing is that whatever activities you are thinking about, you can see that these two worlds are coming ever closer integration to each other all the time. And the speed is accelerating. And that is, for example, one reason why so many nations are nowadays and governments worried about their critical infrastructure and the cyber attacks against them. Because if the bits doesn't work in the critical infrastructure, the physical reality doesn't work. So I would argue that cyber is actually, the digital world is nowadays everywhere. And in a way I would say that we are living under the cyber dome. And this is something, I would say, a model example where a comprehensive approach is essential, with rights and with responsibilities. This is something that no one can avoid. Then my third point. I think we are also in the middle of the change of the paradigm in the security at the moment. In many ways, we like to think, even today, when we are talking about the cyber attacks, that we can prevent the attacks. But I have to say that, of course, we are trying to do everything we can. And for example, in McAfee, I know that our people, they are working very, very, very long hours to prevent the attacks and the attackers, whoever they are. But at the same time, I have to say that the mentality in cyber seems to be shifting to the reality and the thinking that actually maybe the starting point should be I will be hacked. And how I build my defense after that. More often I hear in reality that we are moving from prevention thinking to actually to cyber resilience. This is, for example, army of the Great Britain. They are not so much talking anymore about the cyber defense. They are talking about cyber resilience. So how you can work in the situation when you have been hacked, and how successful you have and you are able to execute your plan B if the bits are not working. Or on the other hand, when we are thinking that usually we think that security in cyber is building like in the medieval ages, when we wanted to secure our citizens, our information, our valuable assets in our cities, we used to build these very strong fortresses with very thick and high walls. And then there was one entrance which was guarded who can go in and out. And that's pretty much the mentality what we usually have here in the cybersecurity. We build very strong, thick, high walls. And we keep doing that. But I think in a way the paradigm is changing to the idea that, okay, what if the enemy, the opponent, whoever that is already inside my walls? How I will find it? How I will detect it? What kind of actions are needed at that moment? Then we are talking about more the concept of the defense in depth. It's the same way here in Budapest. I don't see any fortresses around the city anymore. The security is being produced inside the city by security and other authorities. Then my last point. I think we all understand that even if we try to work very hard, and we are working very hard, the cyber world, the cyber domain will never be perfect one, as it is not the perfect world here in the physical world. There will always be espionage, hopefully less than today. There will always be cyber criminals, hopefully much less than today. But I think one of the biggest changes what we are seeing pretty soon concerns the next generation who are actually thinking pretty differently on these issues than we are. And we, I mean, we who are in this room at the moment. For example, my younger son, who is 7 years old, he would describe the map of the world maybe in this way. That there are some certain communities, there are certain web pages, and like Facebook to him is the second biggest country in the world, 1.2 billion users, when China has 1.3 billion people in the real life. And I have to say that, for example, in my young childhood, where I have to split, for example, candy with my sister, we made it half, and I had to have half the candy. What my son is doing when he is sharing something with his brother, he is multiplying it. Okay, I will make a copy for you. And in many, many cases, those people, which I call and are being called Generation Z, they have pretty much different approach to these issues what we are thinking. Because they have been in all their lives living their life in a reality where there has been internet, smartphones, MP3 files, tablets, whatever. They don't go to library to do their homework over there. They go to internet and Wikipedia and so on. And it's pretty different thinking what they are having in their head. And for the future, what I see through this Generation Z is that cybersecurity in many ways is coming much more personal, especially with the responsibilities. But then to the end, if you raise above the heated daily discussions and the news of the hackings and everything, you can see the green boxes, the applications and the technological solutions, what we take for granted today, aren't actually so old. And when we are thinking about the incidents what we have been facing, there aren't so many. So in many ways, I would say that we are just living the dawn of the cyber era. And the security and the cybersecurity will have, in coming years, even much more greater emphasis to the solutions, whatever we are doing. But that's not the most important. The most important is enjoy life every day. Thank you very much.